Hello chess family, it's me National Master Jesse James, and today we're going over 10 opening traps. Our first one we got for you is going to be a Sicilian Trap in the Dragon variation. Let's take a look. Here we go. We start with e4, c5, knight f3, d6, d4, c takes, knight takes, main line, Dragon variation. After knight f6, knight c3, g6. And here we go. We play bishop to e3, knight to g4, and this is actually the mistake in the game. What's the trap? Well, here the knight is being guarded by this bishop right here. So here, white to move. What do you play to remove the defender? Alright, hopefully push pause, try to figure it out. If not, enjoy the show. Here we go. Here white plays bishop to b5 check right at the perfect timing. And here, well, there's no way to go ahead and stop this check without losing the knight defender. Okay, well, here we go. Let's see what happens if, let's say, knight to d7. Well, simple chess, just queen takes on g4. Even if you do play bishop at d7, what do you play? Queen takes on g4 because it is being pinned. And the only other move that you can try in this variation is something like knight c6. And the same thing will happen. Knight takes on c6, pawn takes, bishop takes, and here we're forking the king and the rook. So again, you're just going to be losing material here, and it will be a very bad position. Oof, bad luck, I'm afraid. So best way they can really play, and most people will play, is bishop d7, and here you'll simply just take. Alright, on to the next one. We got the Noah's Ark Trap, a very old one over here on the Ruy Lopez. We start with e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5. The Ruy Lopez has started. a6, Morphy's defense, bishop to a4, d6, the Steinitz variation, or the Steinitz deferred, pawn to d4, and here we go, pawn to d5, b5 here, kicking the bishop. And this is where the trap is going to start in place. Here, basically, white goes bishop to b3. And here we can take the pawn on d4 here, and they cannot take back here or else they will be losing to this trap. Mind you, at this point, white does not have to take back, and white still has a good game here. Castling is a move, also pawn to c3 is a move. With that being said, well, here we go. Knight takes d4, and then they lose the game after knight takes, queen takes. Here it is black to move and win. Again, if you want to play along, go ahead and push pause, see if you can figure it out. All right, here we go. At this point, the idea is to trap the bishop on b3. So what do you play? Free tempos. You go with pawn to c5 here, attacking the queen. The idea is to play pawn to c4 here. So here, white will only have one try that they can do. They're going to go queen d5 for a double attack. The queen is threatening on f7 for checkmate, and also the rook here on a8. So we can't play pawn c4 right away. But active defense, what do you play? Simple chess. Bishop e6 to attack the queen, but also defend on f7. Again, if they move the queen anywhere, let's just say, I don't know, to d1, here pawn c4 will trap the bishop. So there's only one active move to play here. Queen to c6 check. And what do you play here? Bishop d7, queen back to d5. And notice now, because the bishop is moved, the queen can now defend the rook. Here now we can simply just play pawn c4, and the Noah's Ark Trap has been done. All right, here we go for the Elephant Trap. We start off with d4, d5, pawn c4. We got the Queen's Gambit over here. Pawn to e6, knight to c3, knight to f6, bishop g5, knight b to d7, and here comes the trap. It looks like when you put the knight to d7 here, well, didn't you just put yourself into a pin? You did, but you did this on purpose, knowing what could happen next. And here white falls for it. White says, hey, this is a pin, and goes pawn takes, and knight takes on d5. And this is definitely the mistake here. All right, black to move and win. What do you play? All right, hopefully you know this one. Here you can simply just take on d5 here. Wait a second, can't they just take the queen? They can. The problem is that this diagonal is very weak. See, this bishop is actually defending over here. And so if bishop b4 check ever really got played, well, the bishop would just go back to block. So after bishop takes on d8, do not take over here. Here we're going to go ahead and play bishop to b4 interzomoa, or an in-between move. And now there's nothing better for white than to go ahead and block. And after this, you can simply take, or just take here on d8 here. But either way, well, I'll go ahead and take here on d2 here. King takes on d8. And here we're just going to be up an extra piece here with an easily winning position. On to the next one, we got the Rubenstein Trap over here. We start off with d4, d5, knight f3, knight to f6, c4, another Queen's Gambit, pawn to e6, bishop g5. Let's get the bishop outside the pawn chain before we play pawn to e3. Knight b to d7, pawn to e3, bishop to e7, knight c3, castles, rook c1, rook e8. Looks like a very standard game here. Here we're just doing very nice and normal moves here. Queen to c2, a6, and this is starting to go into this Rubenstein trap. Here the idea is this c7 square right here, as we will see very soon. Here Rubenstein does the right idea. He's going to go ahead and trade to open up the c file. So c takes on d5, e takes on d5, bishop d3, a nice little tempo move so that we can't move the knight without h7 or the e4 getting weak over here. Black plays pawn c6 to defend on d5, and now we go ahead and castle. Knight to e4, a very typical move here. Black is going to want to try and make some trades because, as you can see, white controls more space. And here we go. We go ahead and play bishop f4. Of course, we don't trade here. As we just said, when you have more space, you don't want to make trades because you need the pieces to go ahead and control all your space. So black wants to make trades. Thusly, we do not want to make trades. So bishop f4 gets played, and now the blunderful move, pawn to f5. It is now white to move and win some material. What do you play here? All right, hopefully you found it. This is a very cool one. Here we get to play the nice knight takes on d5 here. Well, can't we just take back? Well, in this game, unfortunately, they did and fell for the Rubenstein trap. Here we go. We can trap the queen with bishop to c7, and that queen is gone. She is trapped, and she is out of the game. All right, on for our next one. We got the Blackbird Trap. This is a very good one for Scholastic tournaments. So if you have a Scholastic player, you should definitely try this one out. A lot of people will fall for this one. If you're, and I would even say maybe even people around 1300 or below online chess might even fall for this one. But it's a trap, so if you mess it up, well, you're gonna be losing your game. But let's take a look at this fun-looking trap. E4, E5, knight f3 attacks the pawn, knight c6 defends the pawn, bishop c4. And as I said, this is a Scholastic kind of trap. So, well, the Italian is very popular with Scholastic players. And here we go. Here's the trappy move, knight to d4 here. Definitely not the best. Now, if you're a good chess player, what do you do here? Simple chess. You just go ahead and play knight takes, pawn takes, and then you go ahead and castle. And there's no doubt that white is better in this situation. Your king is safe, you have a pawn in the center, and you have a piece out. What does black have? Well, black does have a pawn in the center, but he has double pawns, and that's about it. That's all he can say because he moved the same piece twice. With that being said, after knight to d4, some people will play the trappy move, well, the trap move, which is knight takes on e5 because, well, why not? Look, it's a free pawn, and now you see you're attacking on f7 here. How could this be bad? Be careful, unprotected pieces. In this case, it's the knight and the pawn here on g2. Black to move. What do you play to take advantage of this? Here we go. Queen to g5 for a double attack on the knight and the pawn here on g2. Here, white typically goes ahead and plays. Knight takes on f7. And here we go. Queen takes on g2. And white's saying, well, you know what? You can take this pawn because I can move my rook away. But look, your rook's going to be trapped there forever. Sort of. After this, there's only one good move for the rook to move to, which is safe, which is rook to f1, and now it is a forced loss. Here we go. Queen takes on e4 check, and well, most people here are going to play bishop e2, because the only other move to block is to play queen to e2, and as you can see here, we'll just go ahead and snack attack, right? So, what do you play here after bishop to e2? Checkmate in one. Hopefully you like your Smothers mates, and you go ahead and play knight to f3 for check and mate here. Notice the bishop cannot take as the queen is just putting the bishop in a pin. On to the next one. We're on for number 6. If you are enjoying this, please go ahead and like and subscribe, and I'll keep making some good content for you. We got the Multimare Trap, and here we go again. E4, E5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5. Oh, Ruy Lopez here. Knight f6, pawn to d3. I like this little variation of just the d3 variations in the Ruy Lopez. And here is the trappy move for black. Black goes ahead and plays knight to e7. Now here, you do not have to take the pawn. In fact, if you do, you will be losing. So here, there's many moves that you can play. Here, typically, you can either go knight c3 or maybe just castles. It looks good enough to me. With that being said, they sprung the trap. Knight takes on e5. And when there's two unprotected pieces, you should be definitely looking for the double attack. So what do you do here? Here we play pawn to c6. A very nice move here. The idea is not only to attack the bishop, but the idea is to bring the queen out so you can check to attack the king and also the knight here on e5. So if the bishop moved away, let's say it goes to c4, queen a5 check gets played and we win the piece. White does have one more trappy move that they can play themselves, which is knight to c4. Should we take? You should only take here if you're not paying attention. Here after pawn takes, you're the one who got trapped with the knight to d6 smothers mate. Okay, so what do you play here? Simple chess. Make a threat. All you have to do is play knight to g6 here. The bishop is still being attacked, and also you opened up your bishop to guard the d6 square. So the bishop must move, bishop to a4, and now the last move here, we just go ahead and play pawn to b5, and you just lost a piece here with a simple fork here at the end. All right, on to our next one. Let's go to the fishing pole trap in the Spanish variation. Here we go. This fishing pole trap can be used in lots of different openings and games, so go ahead and try to recognize this pattern, and you can actually add it to mostly any game that you want to. Here we go, e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, the Spanish game, or Ruy Lopez. a6, we got Morphy's defense. Bishop takes on c6, d takes on c6, and castles happens over here. Bishop g4 gets played, and this is where we're fishing for them to attack us. And here, well, white did not disappoint. They play pawn to h3. Now, why is it called the fishing pole trap? Well, just like the fish, you're going to hopefully bring them in and reel them in with this little trap right here. Here with h3, most people are going to move the bishop, but here we go. h5 gets played. What's the idea here? The idea is we want them to take so that we can open up the h file. And by no means is this forced. In fact, if white's a strong player or a good player, they'll recognize this and just play something like d3. Remember, you do not have to take. It may look intimidating, but you do not have to take here. Only forced variations. With that being said, after h5 got played, white was a little too greedy and went ahead and played h takes on g4. H takes on g4, and this works out perfectly as we are removing the knight from its defending square of h4. Why is h4 very important right now? Well, remember, we have to bring the queen in. So if the knight moves like it did in this game, with knight takes on e5, it is now forced checkmate in 4. Here we go. Queen to h4 with no good way to stop the checkmates over here. There is one way to try and stop this, and they can try pawn to f3. Black to move. What do you play here? All right, hopefully you push pause, try to figure it out. Now, there's a few different ways to win here, but with that being said, only one of them is the best. Here you should go ahead and play pawn to g3, guarding the escape square. Now, there's other moves you could try here, but again, they're not going to be doing too well. Queen h2 check, the king will escape. You're still winning, but again, cut off the escape square first. So, g3, and there's nothing good to do. We'll go in and say knight to g4 gets played, and now queen to h1, check and mate. All right, on to the next one. Here we go. We got the Montellini Trap. And this is a very nice one, kind of like in the Catalan over here. And here we go. D4, knight f6, c4, e6. Because of the move order, it is actually a Bogo Indian. Knight f3, bishop b4, Bogo Indian. Here we go. Bishop d2, bishop takes, queen takes, pawn to b6, pawn to g3, bishop b7, bishop g2, castles, knight c3. And here comes the trappy idea. Again, this reminds me very much of a Catalan. Knight to e4 gets played here. And the idea is to try and put pressure on h7, but also this unprotected bishop here on b7. So what do you play? If you take, well, this really just helps out black. Remember, whenever you have less space, make traps, and black definitely has less space here. So here we don't help him out. We play queen to c2 here. And well, if black doesn't take, well, I guess they could play something like d5 or f5. But again, black will be just worse in these games. So here they go ahead and take. And here, now we get that nice move, knight to g5 for a double attack. Notice we don't take on c3 right away here, because here we get that nice tempo for checkmate on h7. And also an opening discovery for the bishop on b7. Well, if you don't take, you're just going to be losing because, well, you'll have to block, which loses a tempo. So, queen takes on g5. And here, remember, we don't take on c3. The knight's trapped anyways. We're going to just go ahead and take on b7 here. And, well, after this, you're going to be winning the rook, plus you're going to be winning the knight over here. The game is not over by any means, but white does have better chances in this game. All right, on to our next one. We got the fronze Gambit. Always a fun one to play. F4, E5, pawn takes D6, pawn takes, bishop takes on D6. A fun way to attack the bird over here. Here we can already see that this diagonals becoming very, very weak. So white must play knight to f3 already to stop variations. For instance, something like knight to c3. Here we go. Queen trap. Checkmate. Sacrifice with the queen. Queen h4 check. G3. And here you can play bishop takes, but why not? Let's sacrifice the queen. Queen takes on g3. H takes and bishop takes will be a beautiful mate. That's why they go ahead and play knight to f3 here. And here we go. G5 gets played for the same kind of idea. We want to play G4 and then Queen H4 for the checkmate. So, well, here white was not paying attention and plays pawn to E4. So what do you play? G4. Let's kick this knight so we can get on that diagonal. E5 gets played. Pawn takes, and here comes that queen. Queen to H4 check. Pawn to G3. Queen E4 check. Notice there's really no good square to block over here as the pawn is just guarding it, so we must go ahead and run. King to f2, and now the idea is, well, the rook is unprotected over here, so we're going to be doing some nice little checks over here. Also, the queen's pretty vulnerable over here, so we have the idea. Queen to d4 check, and well, king is forced to take on f3. Now, you could play something like queen to d5 check, but that is not the best here. Black to move. What do you play to win? All right, simple chess here. What do you play? Develop with a threat, win the queen. Bishop to g4 check gets played, and it is game over here as well. There's just nothing good to do here. King to g2 gets played, and we'll just snack attack over here. All right, last one we have our Terrace Trap, and here we go. Pawn to e4. E5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5. Again, we got a Ruy Lopez over here. Morphy's defense is one of the most popular. Bishop a4, knight to f6. Castles, knight takes on e4. Here we got the open Ruy Lopez. Pawn to d4, pawn b5, bishop b3, d5. This is a very important move here. A lot of people would think about taking the pawn, but that will not be the best. That was for black at least. D takes on e5, bishop to e6, pawn to c3. Bishop b7, rook to e1, castles, knight to d4, and here we go. This is the trap move, queen to d7. It is now white to move and win a piece. Do you see it? All right, hopefully you do. Here, white plays the very beautiful knight takes on e6 here, which a lot of people are like, whoa, why would you give up a beautiful knight like this? Well, here we're at least winning a piece, and here black has nothing better than, well, queen takes on e6. Notice that if you do play something like pawn takes, well, what do you play now? Simple chess, the same thing as before. Undefended queen. Rook takes on e4 here, and because of the pin, they cannot take back. That's why the queen goes ahead and takes on e6. But now we have the other winning move here. We go ahead and play. Rook takes on e4 again due to the pin. Notice I might hear someone saying, could you go bishop takes on d5? You're more than welcome to, but there's some messy variations with like rook a to d8, and after rook takes, f takes on e6. You're still in a better position here, but you could be up a piece rather than being up the exchange. And being up a piece is definitely better than being up the exchange. All right, guys, hope you enjoy this. Please go ahead and like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.